Ever pondered the difference between a monastery and a temple? It's a question that appears simple, yet it's steeped in layers of historic intricacy. The realms of religious architecture and practices are a labyrinth of nuances, each symbolizing a unique cultural ethos and spiritual ideology. Understanding these subtleties is not merely an academic exercise, it's a journey into the heart of human civilization and spiritual evolution. So, are you ready? Join us as we delve into the historical context of these sacred spaces. Temples, the ancient structures of reverence, have a fascinating origin story. These architectural marvels trace their roots back to the earliest civilizations where they served as sacred spaces for worship, sacrifice, and communal gathering. Let's journey back to the cradle of civilization, ancient Egypt. Here, temples were more than mere places of worship. They were considered the literal homes of the gods and goddesses they were dedicated to. Intricate hieroglyphs adorned their walls, chronicling divine myths and royal lineage, effectively making them the storybooks of antiquity. Meanwhile, in the Indus Valley, one of the oldest civilizations in the world, temples were integral to city planning. They were typically located at the city center, signifying their importance to the community. These temples were often dedicated to a pantheon of gods and goddesses, reflecting the polytheistic beliefs of the time. In ancient China, temples were built in honor of heaven, earth, and ancestors. They were vital to the practice of ancestor worship, a cornerstone of Chinese culture. These structures were also social hubs, where festivals were celebrated and community decisions were made. Meanwhile, in ancient Greece, temples were erected as the dwelling places for the gods. They were often built on elevated places like the Acropolis in Athens, symbolizing the god's supremacy. The Parthenon, dedicated to the goddess Athena, is one of the most iconic Greek temples, a testament to the grandeur of Hellenistic architecture. Across the globe, these temples played a similar role. They were the nucleus of their respective societies, the hub around which life revolved. They were places where people gathered to worship, to celebrate, to mourn, and to make important decisions. They served as a tangible connection between the divine and the mortal, a bridge between the heavens and the earth. These sacred structures served as the focal point of ancient societies, encapsulating their religious, cultural, and social life. They were more than just buildings. They were the embodiment of human faith, the heart of ancient civilizations. While temples were thriving, a new form of sacred space emerged, the monastery. This novel concept of a religious retreat sprouted roots in the early Christian and Buddhist traditions, providing a unique counterpoint to the bustling activity of temples. In the tranquility of the wilderness, away from the clamor of society, monasteries began to dot the landscape. These were not merely places of worship, but became hubs of learning and meditation. Monks and nuns, the primary occupants of these monasteries, embraced a life of austerity and contemplation, devoting themselves to the pursuit of spiritual enlightenment. In the early Christian tradition, monasteries emerged as bastions of faith and scholarship. The monks lived in seclusion, following a rigid daily regimen of prayer, work, and study. These monastic communities served as preservers of Christian doctrine and literature during times when literacy and learning were often in peril. Parallelly, the Buddhist tradition saw the rise of monasteries as centers for spiritual training and philosophical discourse. These monastic institutions, often nestled in serene, natural settings, provided an environment conducive to meditation and the attainment of nirvana. Monks, or bhikkhus, spent their days in disciplined practice, studying the teachings of Buddha and practicing meditation. Both Christian and Buddhist monasteries shared a common purpose: to serve as sanctuaries for those seeking a deeper understanding of their faith and a closer connection to the divine. The monastery was a place to retreat from the distractions of the world and to focus on spiritual growth and learning. These secluded spaces were not just about escaping the world, but rather they offered a different way of engaging with it. Monasteries became places where the spiritual and the intellectual intersected, where the pursuit of enlightenment was not a solitary endeavor, but a communal one. They were spaces of quiet reflection, rigorous study, and profound spiritual experience. These secluded spaces offered a sanctuary for those seeking spiritual enlightenment and knowledge. They were the cradle of many great thinkers, scholars, and spiritual leaders, shaping the course of religious thought and cultural development for centuries to come. Structurally, monasteries and temples hold their unique characteristics. A keen observer might notice that the architectural differences between these two types of edifices are not merely aesthetic choices. They are, in fact, deeply rooted in their particular roles and functions. Let's start with monasteries. Monasteries are typically more than just places of worship. They are also homes. As such, their design often includes living quarters for the monks or nuns who reside there. Picture long corridors leading to modest rooms, communal dining halls, and areas for study or work. Some monasteries might even have gardens or courtyards, providing a tranquil space for contemplation and meditation. Every brick, every archway, every courtyard in a monastery serves a dual purpose to facilitate both spiritual pursuits and the practicalities of communal living. On the other hand, temples are primarily spaces for worship and spiritual rituals. They don't usually house their devotees, and their design reflects this. Temples often feature grand entrances leading to vast central spaces where the faithful can gather. They are adorned with intricate carvings, statues, or murals depicting deities or significant religious events. These embellishments are not merely decorative, they are visual narratives, telling the stories and teachings of the faith to its followers. Temples, with their soaring spires and ornate adornments, are designed to inspire awe and reverence, to remind those who enter of the divine. Of course, this is a general comparison. Not all monasteries and temples fit these descriptions. The architecture of these sacred spaces can vary greatly depending on the religion, the region, and the era in which they were built. Yet the common thread that runs through them all is purpose. Every aspect of their design, from the layout of the rooms to the choice of ornamentation, is influenced by their intended function. In conclusion, while both monasteries and temples are places of worship, their architectural differences highlight their distinct roles. Monasteries are designed for communal living and spiritual practice, while temples serve as grand stages for religious ceremonies and rituals. The design of these edifices reflects their distinct purposes. Beyond architecture, monasteries and temples also differ in their purpose and function. Now, let's delve into these differences and discover how they shape our understanding of these sacred spaces. Temples, ingrained in the very fabric of human civilizations, primarily serve as places of worship. They are the spiritual epicenters where the divine and earthly realms intersect. In these hallowed halls, rituals, ceremonies, and sacrifices are performed, forming an integral part of religious observances. Temples often house deities, spirits, or gods, making them a conduit for devotees to express their devotion, seek blessings, and find solace. They are the beating heart of many communities, pulsating with life during festivals and celebrations. On the other hand, monasteries serve a rather different purpose. They are more than just places of worship. They are homes for those who have dedicated their lives to spiritual pursuits. Monasteries are usually inhabited by monks or nuns who have taken vows of chastity, poverty, and obedience. These peaceful havens are not just residences. They are centers for spiritual learning and meditation. Here, the residents engage in a life of contemplation, study, and community service. They seek to attain enlightenment and spiritual growth through disciplined practices and rigorous routines. Monasteries also offer retreats to lay people seeking solace and spiritual rejuvenation. These retreats provide an opportunity to disconnect from the humdrum of daily life and connect with one's inner self in a serene and tranquil environment. While temples and monasteries might seem similar in their pursuit of the divine, they offer distinct paths towards this goal. Temples provide a community space for collective worship, while monasteries offer a more individualistic approach to spiritual enlightenment. In conclusion, temples and monasteries, though different in their purpose and function, both serve as crucial pillars in the spiritual landscape of human societies. They are not just physical structures, they are embodiments of human endeavor to connect with the divine. These spaces embody the diverse ways in which humans connect with the divine. The cultural impact of monasteries and temples is profound and far-reaching. These sacred spaces have left indelible footprints on the sands of human history. They've shaped societies, cultures, and civilizations, serving as the backbone of collective human consciousness, transcending geographical boundaries and temporal timelines. Delve into antiquity and you'll find that monasteries and temples were not just places of worship. They were vibrant hubs of culture, learning, and social interaction. Monasteries, in particular, were the cradle of education in many societies. They preserved ancient texts, fostered intellectual discourse, and nurtured the seeds of knowledge. In these hallowed halls, scholars and monks painstakingly transcribed manuscripts, ensuring the survival of literature, philosophy, and science. Temples, on the other hand, were the canvas upon which societies painted their beliefs and values. They were the grand stages where religious rituals and festivals were performed, binding communities together. The intricate carvings and sculptures adorning these temples not only depicted mythological tales but also reflected the societal norms and values. They served as visual narratives, telling stories of gods and heroes, of love and war, of creation and destruction. Moreover, monasteries and temples influenced art and architecture in significant ways. The grandeur and intricacy of these structures inspired countless artisans and craftsmen, leading to the birth of various architectural styles and art forms. From the soaring spires of Gothic cathedrals to the serene simplicity of Zen temples, the impact is evident. These sacred spaces also left their mark on music. The hymns and chants echoing through the corridors of monasteries and temples gave birth to unique musical traditions, many of which are still alive today. The soothing Gregorian chants, the mystical Sufi qawwalis, the soulful Buddhist hymns, all bear testament to this influence. In essence, monasteries and temples are not just physical constructs, but cultural repositories preserving the essence of human civilization. They are the mirrors reflecting the spiritual, intellectual, and artistic facets of humanity. These sacred spaces continue to shape our understanding of spirituality and humanity. In today's world, the roles of monasteries and temples continue to evolve. While they still remain as sanctuaries of spiritual solace and enlightenment, their function has adapted to the demands and peculiarities of the modern age. In the hustle and bustle of contemporary life, monasteries and temples are not just places of worship anymore. They have emerged as centers of learning, community service, and social interaction. They have become an oasis of calm where people can retreat from the fast-paced rhythm of the outside world and reconnect with their inner selves. In the age of technology, monasteries and temples have also embraced the digital realm. They've expanded their reach by establishing an online presence, offering virtual services, and creating digital platforms for meditation and prayer. Monks and priests now conduct online classes, stream live services, and offer spiritual guidance to a global audience. They've brought the wisdom of ancient traditions to the fingertips of people around the world. But the evolution doesn't stop there. Many monasteries and temples have started community outreach programs, addressing social issues and providing support to those in need. They have opened their doors to the homeless, offered educational programs for children, and provided mental health support to the community. They've become a beacon of hope and compassion, embodying the very principles they preach. In the face of crises, these sacred spaces have proven their resilience. When the world was gripped by the pandemic, many monasteries and temples swiftly adapted, offering online prayer services and meditation sessions to comfort the fearful and the anxious. They've stood as pillars of strength, providing spiritual sustenance in trying times. The modern monastery and temple are thus a testament to the timeless relevance of spiritual institutions. They've evolved, adapted, and innovated, but their core purpose remains unchanged: to serve as a bridge between the divine and the human. As society evolves, so too do these sacred spaces, continuing to serve as a bridge between the divine and the human. So monastery or temple is one more significant than the other. Here's a thought. These structures, though distinct in origin, architecture, and function, share a common thread. They're both vessels of human spirituality. Temples with their divine grandeur and monasteries with their serene simplicity both reflect our diverse expressions of faith. It's crucial to appreciate and understand these differences, yet see the unity in their purpose. In the end, whether a monastery or a temple, each holds a unique place in our shared human experience of spirituality.